what I'm going to do is I'm going to review these Devolo Magic 2 plugs, Powerline adapters. The reason I bought these is to upgrade my current TP-Link ones, which are I think the 1200 megabit per second. These ones, the thing that interested me was the fact that they have the newer, what do you call it, the new G.hn or something like that. And apparently they do 2400 megabits per second, which I can obviously, there's no chance I'll go anywhere near that, because it's like Wi-Fi, you don't ever get any of the quoted speeds. You don't get anywhere like the quoted speeds, so you know, probably I'm guessing maybe you get 500 plus or something. I mean, they've only got a gigabit port anyway, so you know, you can't get anywhere near 2 gigabits with 1 gigabit port unless they've got a 10 gig. And obviously, you know, not everyone's got a 10 gig switch line around. So yeah, I'm going to try these out and see what they're like. Right, so let's have a look at what you get in the box. Okay, open it up. It's always a pain. Butchers, garbage, instructions we don't need. The other plugs look normal, usual sort of size, nothing particularly small or nothing particularly large about these. 3000 watts, okay, so they've got 3000 watts max load for the main plug. For a second there I thought they meant 3000 watts, as in that's what they use. So what else do you get? So probably Ethernet cables. Yeah. A couple of bog standard Ethernet cables. They're about a metre and a half. Right. Okay, so I think what I'll do first is I'll test them when they're right next to each other and see what's the max speed I get. I should be able to use iPerf3 or something like that. So let's give them a test. Right, so I've got them plugged in on both sides of the room. This is the same room, so it's the lounge. So one's on one side, one's on the other. It's about 10 metres distance. 8 to 10 metres, I would say. So one of the things I wanted to do was to just get a reading in the same room, basically across the lounge. So it's about a 10 metre lounge, a 10 metre from one side to the other. And I wanted to just check to see, do like a baseline performance test to see how they will perform. Okay, so what I just wanted to go over again was to talk about how I tested how I did the speed test between the 2 points, the 2 Powerline adapters. So what I used was existing equipment that I had, which was the Mikrotik CapAC wireless access point, which was what I put on the remote side, the remote Powerline adapter, basically plugged in via Ethernet into the Powerline. And then the other side, which was the terminating side, was the RB4011 router from Mikrotik, which is my main router for the house, my main firewall. So basically what I did was set up a bandwidth server test. So on the RB4011 I set up a bandwidth server, started the bandwidth server, and then I connected to the bandwidth server from the CapAC, which works very much, very similar to the iPerf3 that you can find on the internet. Maybe it's based on a similar sort of system, but iPerf3 with a client and a server. the client talks to the server and then usually does like a download or an upload test and test the bandwidth between 2 points. That's usually the most accurate way to do a good bandwidth test, rather than if you're doing it within the house. And I thought it easier to use those devices rather than lugging 2 laptops around and then hooking them up to the power lines. It just seems to be a bit cleaner that way. So so just going over that. Okay, so just doing that initial test from one side of the room to the other. Logging onto the CapAC here. Zoom in a bit. So we go to Tools, Bandwidth Test. We test on the main router, which is the RB4011. Go TCP, UDP, just don't flood it. Receive, should be okay, I think. And then start. Interesting, okay. So now we're getting 480. So that's probably about as fast as it'll go. And that's going from one side of the room to the other, about 8 to 10 meters distance. Remember, old wiring, house is relatively old, well, medium age-wise, 1960s, so it's like a common sort of house in the UK. Not particularly old, certainly not new, not old. I would consider something, maybe older than 1950s is on the older side. But the wiring, as far as I'm aware, is old because all the plug sockets look ancient. So, that's not too bad, that. It's definitely a lot better than the old TP links. Yeah, 480, 490. Not enough to flood most broadbands. Enough to flood mine because I'm only at 360. So I'm logging into the Mikrotik CapAC, which is upstairs, and it's plugged directly into the switch, which is plugged into that power line adapter. And it's upstairs. It's about as far away from the other power line adapter as you can get in this house. So I'm going to just do a speed test. So let's have a look. Not IP, what we're doing. Tools. Bandwidth test. Test 2. So I'm going to test to my RB4011. 12.10.1. Send it to TCP. Direction doesn't really matter. We'll see receive. So let's go to 1. Tools. Bandwidth test. So these 2 devices are now split each side of the house, and those power lines are basically the hop between them, the bridge over the mains network. So let's see what speeds they get. Obviously the gigabit Ethernet ports on the Mikrotiks, so technically if it was a normal just straight through internet, they could probably get 900 meg or something on the gig. So we'll try that now. TCP. Oh, hang on, bandwidth test server. Apply. TCP. Okay, let's have a look. See if you can see. Click start. What have we got here? Okay, so you can see it's about 180, 170, 180. I think I got it to 200 before. So this is going across very old wiring, I would say. This is a 1960s house, and I don't think the electrics have been touched. It's pretty old, so it's probably not a very good electrical system. Not ideal for running power lines over. I'm guessing in a modern house, with really good wiring, you might get better speeds, but it's still not too bad. When getting towards 200 is probably enough for most internet connections. Not so good for me because I have a 380 meg on the Virgin Media, so not too bad. Market, and I think they use the older protocol. I can't remember the name of the protocol now, but it's the original Powerline protocol, and these Devolos use the later G.hn protocol, which is supposedly faster. So the verdict is they seem to perform better, because I managed to get 480 megabits per second on the same room test, basically one side of the room, the same room, and I never got anywhere near that with the TP links. Maybe I got like 250 or something like that. But these are 480, 500. That's enough for most people to saturate their internet connection. Unless you've got a gigabit fibre to the home or fibre to the premises, you're not going to be complaining about that. That's pretty damn good. The distance-wise, it seemed to be that you still get pretty good speeds, like more or less 200 from one floor to another, which is like your normal usage, that sort of distance. And I was happy with that, so just over 200, I think it was. Yeah, they seem pretty good. They seem slightly better than the TP links overall. But would I recommend them? For most people, probably not really. Maybe if you want absolute, you want something that's just slightly faster than the limits of what the TP link will do, then I guess they're definitely worth buying, because it seems like the actual maximum throughput is going to be better. The only other thing I would say about them is they seem to get quite hot. I know all Powerline adapters get quite hot, but these ones especially, even after a few, like a couple of minutes, they were like really hot to the touch. Not like dangerously hot, but pretty hot. Although they seem to stay at that temperature, so they don't. I've checked them over a few hours, like a few days now, and they don't, get to sizzling temperatures where it's dangerous or something like that. So they obviously just get to a pretty hot operating temperature and stay there. But yeah, pretty good. I just wish that Powerline to bring out some new super fancy protocol, and they could like run a guaranteed gig through it, even with all the noise on your circuit. But maybe it's scientifically impossible at the moment. So yeah, I think probably good to go. Yeah.